Good morning, Coffee Chat friend. This morning I wanted to talk about something called a scientific method. And to do this, maybe we could take a little journey in time back to high school. I don't know about you, but for me, I remember when I was back in high school, we'd do these labs in chemistry normally. And they had this standard form sheet that you had to fill out, and it had a bunch of titles in there, and at the time I didn't really, well, sort of got the idea, but not really. It was just fun, basically, get in there and blow stuff up and make some smelly smoke in a lab. That was most of the fun. Get a Bunsen burner going and boil stuff, watch things change color and whatnot. But looking at it now in how that was done, the purpose of it, to basically, we were looking at the theory of something in the classroom, and then we go into the lab and observe the theory in practice. So it was a confirmation of the theory for us. But I was just thinking about this, and in terms of being able to confirm things, there's so many things in our world, and so many ideas in our world and what have you, and if we can systematically use our reason to break through a lot of the fallacies and what have you, I think that's helpful for our quality of life, because we can live a truer life. But I just want to kind of walk through some of the standard points anyways that were in those little lab reports that we used to do. If you remember, there was something along these lines: intro or introduction, objective, procedure, experiment, results, and conclusion. After having been in public speaking for a while, doing a bit of public speaking, how they always talk about having some sort of an intro and some sort of a conclusion, and then something in the middle, right? So this has the same thing. It has an intro and it has a conclusion, and that has a bunch of stuff in the middle. Now, this is important, I think, not because we're going to go back into high school chemistry labs and do experiments, but just being able to approach our relationships, whenever we want to improve in some way, if we can introduce ourselves to what it is that we want, get a clearer point. So there's an intro there, but then there's a sitting down and defining or declaring or somehow getting clear on the objective. Let's use an analogy here. Let's say we want to go for a walk, a hike, or a camping trip. We got our backpacks and everything, right? So the intro is, we talk about it. We introduce ourselves to the idea. And then we set out to declare an objective, right? The objective is, we're going to walk from here to the high plateau and camp there for the weekend, and then come back. That's the objective. And the objective, of course, includes, getting there includes having the right equipment, the right hiking shoes, the right backpacks, the right amount of trail mix and water, whatever it is that we need. That's all included in the objective, because it's like what we're seeing, right? It is a subjective construct when we're doing it, but we have an objective. It's like a goal, a desired goal, right? That we want to. Now, then in the lab they called it experiment. Well, the experiment is, if you think about it, when we were in the lab, when we were experimenting, we were actually we were lighting the Bunsen burners, we were putting little things into petri dishes or test tubes and doing whatever. We were experimenting. So in going for our hike, we would actually, more than just declare and clarify our objective, we would put our backpacks on at a certain time. We would begin walking towards the objective, to complete the objective, right? That's like, you know, in the lab, we have what we think is the objective because we've studied the theory ahead of time. So we have that in mind and we're observing to see if that's actually going to play out. And the next thing on the list was results. And in the lab, we would see results that were similar to what we learned in the theory. And if they weren't, then we would report on that, right? And it's the same with going for our hike. We would, based on our action steps along the way, we would get there or we wouldn't. So our conclusion wouldn't necessarily be a complete match with the objective, but that's the intention. The objective is to get there, but the results, rather the results, are whether or not we do whatever the results are. I mean, maybe somebody sprains their ankle, and we don't get there, and we have to, you know, carry somebody home. Well, that would be the results, and but we approached it at a certain. So the better procedure we had, the less likely that would be, right? We would have the right equipment and the right process. It's a process. We'd have a procedure, right? And then we would have our conclusions. You know, we would talk about it, and we'd remember this for a long time, probably because we had a great time, or we had our mishaps and our jokes and our all kinds of funnies and our trials and tribulations and all these sorts of things. We would have an informal, at least, conclusion about our hiking trip. And in the lab, you remember, we used to sit down and we'd write out our conclusion, what it is that we saw, what it is that we observed, how that relates to theory and all this sort of thing. So, is this valuable for our everyday? Are we going to sit down and do a lab report about our day and so on? I don't think that's the point of what I hope that's not the point that you're getting from here. It's not really my point. It's certainly not what I do. But it's just in terms of thinking about how we can be more effective and being cognizant about how we can be more effective. And when we do that, we have to conclude at a certain point that being more systematized, especially at certain things, at certain procedures, and one of them is in the way we think, to have principle-based, like sort of a standard of procedure. And a standard has to have, things have got to pass muster for us. There has to be a look at it like this. Things have got to answer to this, and they've got to answer to this. You know, so for example, if we live our lives with a principle that says that I don't want to attack other people, and then we realize that what we're doing, we are attacking them by proxy even, because of the way we live our lives. We're allowing agents of attack to attack others. Then we say, well, no, that's out of step with the way I want to live my life. It's like we have a system, we have an objective, an overall objective of wanting to live peaceful lives and improve our lives and the lives of others and so on. An overall objective. So therefore, within our lives, the things we do, they have to fit with that overall objective. Otherwise, they're out of whack. I mean, it would be like if we went into the lab and we're going to do an experiment on the reaction of sodium with water or whatever, and then all of a sudden we're playing cards or something like that. We would realize that what we're doing is out of whack with the reason why we're there, right? So if we can, with the purpose of us being in the lab, because we went into the lab to experiment with sodium, and here we are just playing cards, we realize that that's not going to further the experiment with sodium. So, and with our lives too, when we realize what is our objective, if we can get a sense of what what it is that we want to accomplish, what is our purpose in being here or being on a particular project or whatever it is. When we have that clear, we can realize that our procedures and our experiments or our processes are either effective or not effective, because they either are or they are not driving us in the direction of the objective or helping the objective. And therefore, if they're not, we're not getting the results. And our conclusions are going to be that this is not working. So it's not a matter of having checklists coming out of our pockets every day. It's about having a concept of a method versus, say, madness. So just some thoughts which have come straight out of the simple high school laboratory process, which I think is very applicable in its construct, in its concept, to so many things that we do in life so that we can be more effective. Hope this is helpful. My name is Steve. I'll sign off for now. It's been great talking to you again. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.